You are not lazy. Your brain is trying to protect you from something you have not understood yet. And once you truly see this, the way you take action will begin to change in a powerful and lasting way. Most people believe they lack discipline. They blame themselves for not taking action even when they genuinely want to improve. It feels like a personal failure, like something is missing inside them. But what if the real issue is not motivation at all? What if your brain is quietly stopping you for a hidden reason? One that has nothing to do with your capability and everything to do with how you are wired. The invisible loop that feels like laziness. There was a time when someone decided they were finally going to change their life. They made a clear plan, set specific goals, and imagined a better version of themselves. In their mind, everything felt simple and achievable. It felt like this time, things would actually work. The night before, they felt motivated and in control. They told themselves that tomorrow would be different. They even visualized how productive they would be. That version of them felt real, and it gave them confidence. But when the morning came, something shifted. Instead of starting, they reached for their phone. One notification turned into scrolling, and scrolling turned into delay. They told themselves they would begin in a few minutes, but those minutes quietly disappeared. Hours passed without any real progress. The plan they were so excited about the night before stayed untouched. And by the end of the day, a heavy feeling of frustration began to build. It was not just about wasting time. It was about breaking their own promise again. This did not happen once. It became a pattern. Every night felt like a reset filled with hope, and every morning felt like the same struggle returning. Slowly, that hope started turning into self-doubt. They began labeling themselves lazy, inconsistent, distracted. These words started to feel true because the evidence seemed to support them. Each missed action made that belief stronger. But there was something deeper going on. A quiet conflict between intention and action. They wanted to move forward, but something inside kept holding them back. And the more they tried to force themselves, the stronger that resistance became. They could not understand why simple actions felt so difficult. It was not a lack of clarity. It was not a lack of desire. It was something else, something invisible, shaping their behavior without their awareness. What they did not realize at that time was this. The problem was never laziness. The problem was something hidden in the way their brain was responding to the situation. And until they understood that, the cycle was always going to repeat. Your brain chooses safety over growth. What most people never realize is this. Your brain is not designed to make you successful. It is designed to keep you safe. Every decision it makes is based on avoiding risk, not chasing growth. When you try to start something new, your brain does not see opportunity first. It sees uncertainty. It senses the possibility of failure, judgment, or discomfort. Even if the risk is small, your brain reacts as if it needs to protect you. That is where resistance begins. It does not feel like fear directly. Instead, it shows up as procrastination, distraction, or a sudden lack of energy. You think you are being lazy, but in reality, your brain is slowing you down on purpose. This is why simple tasks feel heavy. It is not because they are hard. It is because your brain is trying to avoid the emotional discomfort attached to them. Starting becomes the hardest step, even when the task itself is easy. The more important the task feels, the stronger this reaction becomes. Because importance increases pressure. And pressure makes your brain more alert to possible failure. So instead of pushing you forward, it pulls you back. That is why you can spend hours doing things that do not matter. Scrolling, watching, delaying. These feel safe because they carry no risk. There is no judgment, no failure, and no discomfort. Once you understand this, something shifts. You stop attacking yourself for not taking action. You stop calling yourself lazy. And you begin to see that the real problem is not who you are, but how your brain is trying to protect you. And this awareness is powerful. Because when you understand the real reason behind your behavior, you can finally start changing it in a smarter way. The small shift that breaks resistance. Once you understand that your brain is trying to protect you, forcing yourself harder is no longer the solution. In fact, the more pressure you create, the more resistance you feel. That is why strict plans often fail after a few days. Instead of trying to do everything at once, the real shift is simple. You reduce the weight of starting. You make the action feel safe enough for your brain to accept. This is where small beginnings become powerful. Tell yourself you will do the task for just 5 minutes. Not perfectly, not completely, just start. This removes the fear of failure because there is no big expectation attached to it. Your brain no longer sees it as a threat. When you begin this way, something interesting happens. The resistance starts to fade. The task that felt heavy becomes lighter. And once you are in motion, continuing feels much easier than starting. This is because action creates momentum. And momentum reduces overthinking. You stop fighting your mind and start working with it. That is the key difference between forcing discipline and building consistency. Over time, these small starts build trust within yourself. You begin to prove that you can take action, even on difficult days. And that proof slowly replaces doubt with confidence. The goal is not to do everything perfectly. The goal is to make starting feel normal. Because once you master the beginning, everything else becomes easier to handle. Change your identity. Change your actions. At some point, the real transformation begins when you stop focusing only on actions and start focusing on identity. Because the way you see yourself quietly controls everything you do. If you keep telling yourself that you are lazy or inconsistent, your brain will act according to that belief. It will look for proof and repeat the same patterns. That identity becomes a limit you carry every day. But the moment you change that story, your behavior begins to shift. Instead of saying you lack discipline, you start seeing yourself as someone who takes small actions consistently. This creates a new internal standard. You do not need to become perfect overnight. You only need to become the person who shows up, even in small ways. That is how real confidence is built, not from big wins, but from repeated proof. Each time you start, even for a few minutes, you reinforce this new identity. You show yourself that you are capable of action. And slowly, that version of you becomes stronger than the old one. This is how the cycle finally breaks. Not through pressure or guilt, but through understanding and identity. You stop fighting yourself and start aligning with who you want to become. And once that alignment happens, consistency is no longer something you chase. It becomes something you naturally live. The next time you feel stuck, do not rush to judge yourself. Pause for a moment and ask what your brain is trying to protect you from. Because the problem was never laziness. It was a misunderstanding of how your mind works. And now that you see it clearly, You have an advantage most people never get. You can stop fighting yourself and start moving forward with awareness. Real change does not begin with pressure. It begins with understanding. If this changed the way you see your English, consider subscribing and staying connected for more. If you found this helpful, a like really supports the content and keeps it growing. You can share this with someone who understands English but still struggles to sound natural. Try writing one sentence in English in the comments without translating, just your thoughts. If you want to keep improving step by step, turn on the bell icon so you do not miss what comes next. Thank you for watching and putting in the effort to improve. It means a lot that you chose to learn with this video.